Welcome to the Scale with Pros podcast with your host, myself, Cody Barton, the number one place to be if you want to build a business beyond yourself. And for all the resources we talk about in the show, make sure to head over to scalewithpros.com. All right, before we dive in today, I wanted to share a special treat for all of you listening today. I actually pulled a Q&A from our Scale with Pros private community where I'm actually live helping business owners work through their problems and challenges around hiring. And these are all business owners doing 6 and 7 figures a year in revenue. So we will go ahead and share that here for you now so you can get real tactical advice from other business owners going through similar challenges that you probably are experiencing yourself. So without further ado, let's dive in.
I have a question. If we're starting. So we're in this space of, acquisitions, like business acquisitions. What do you do when you're like, and you've probably seen this, like you own a company and then like you're trying to throw capital at it. Like, what do you do with a company that like it's not new anymore? Like the shiny new part has worn off and now it's got some issues to work through. Like, how do you do that? Do you just throw more capital at it?
I guess so in regards to like once you like buy a new company, what to do, or help me understand like what
Yeah, I
specifically.
guess my question is like I see that like it's exciting when you're buying a new company and it's new and you're getting the right people in place, but like what happens after 2 or 3 years, right? And the company is doing its thing, but maybe it's like not performing like you thought it should be. Like what do you do as a business owner in order to put it back on track to where it needs to be?
Yeah, so I think it goes to like some of the fundamentals of like every business and like the constraints, right? Like there's only marketing, sales, finance, and operations. Those are the 4 areas of every business. And so there's at any given time, there's a constraint in one of those areas that needs to be solved for. If the business is stagnating, it's due to one of those areas. It's like we can't get either enough qualified leads in the door to sell our stuff to, or the people that we are getting qualified in the door, the sales are not able to convert enough of them, and that's the constraint. Or if it's operations, it's okay, we get enough people in the door, we're selling enough of them, but we don't have enough people to service, like in Ryan's case, that would be like cleaners, depending on what type of business, whoever is actively doing the fulfillment of the thing. And then finance could be, well, there's a constraint on buying more inventory because there's just not enough cash, or they're asked, your location's tapped out and you don't have enough cash yet to buy the next location to expand, so it's like those are where the constraints come from. And so with any business, it's like, well, what's the goal of the business? So like Perfect Clean, which is one of the companies that we own, like my goal with that company is like we grow that to where, we're able to get it to where it's doing somewhere between like 1 million to 1.5 million in EBITDA a year. So 1.5 million in profit. And, me and Pace had bought in 35% of it, and then we'll sell like a portion of that to take some cash off the table and then, keep some equity in it and then keep kind of consulting along the way as they keep growing. Whereas like a company like Plant Guy, I have a very specific, goal that I want to get to with them, which is getting them to 1 million a year in EBITDA. So, and then going to market and trying to sell and just selling out completely on the equity that I'm involved in on that. It just depends on what your goal is with the business. Like, is it a long-term hold that you just want to get steady cash flow for the long term? Or is it like, you could look at it like real estate, right? Like you buy a
Yeah.
rental to a long-term hold for maybe 5, 7, 10 years and just get some cash flow, some principal pay down, or it's just more of a quick flip, which with businesses, the quick flips are going to be a couple years because they just take time to create the value there. It's solving for whatever the constraint is for the business. And then as far as what do you do with it? Well, it just depends on what your goal is with that particular business. Like what I'm building with Scale with Pros and like as a consulting company,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this for the rest of my life as far as my plan is. Like this is what I enjoy to do the most, but these other business investments those are just going to be part-time endeavors that just grow, sell, take some chips off the table, invest and do that. So I don't know if that answers it or not, but that's kind of my thought process.
So I'm looking at our acquisitions right now. Like it's exciting. It's new. We have the
Yeah.
capital to like infuse into the right people into the right places. So my brain is thinking 2 years in the future. What does it look like when we've done that? We've gotten the key people in place, and then what you're saying, it depends on the constraint. It depends on the constraint is which direction that you're going for.
Exactly. Because at any given moment, it's like regardless if a business is doing 100 grand a year, a million a year, 10 million a year, it goes back to that same constraint. It's just going back to that same framework. It's just a matter of like if you're getting into that deal, how long do you want to be in the deal for? And what's the goal? Because it could just be, hey, we just want to buy this and we're gonna hold this for 10 years and we're just gonna cash flow it and eventually maybe sell it or just hold on to for the long term.
That's good.
What's up, dude?
Nothing much, bro. Life's good. Business has been booming basically since this election ended, which is really nice. I'm just kind of future planning right now. I know this next step. I know the next steps is I need like 3 more acquisition managers, right? And probably another disposition manager for my wholesaling business, right? To get to where I want to go. I'm assuming an acquisition manager averages 40 to 50 grand per month. That'll get me hopefully to a 200 to 250 grand per month business. That's
Yep.
really my goal for this year. I have no clue what the next level above that is for hiring, right? I have an outsourced TC, probably an in-house TC would be one of the things, like just paying somebody's salary of like 60 grand or something like that. Other than that, like I don't know what the next level of management looks like because at that point I'm managing everyone. I have someone who manages the VAs.
Yeah.
But I would be managing all the employees, right? Or all them. And I guess my question is, A, what does it kind of look like on the next level of like, I don't know if that's C-suite, what manager level
Right.
of
Yeah.
the person who's managing people? What should that look like generally? And also, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty scared for that level because it's one thing when I have to lead people, that feels way more comfortable to me. I'm struggling with
Building that layer of leadership of like leading a leader that leads people.
and yeah, because it's like I'm practicing with the VA one. She's doing a really good job. I don't know. It's one of those things, I'm so new. I don't know if I'm doing it right, terribly, okay. I mean, I'm doing it okay. There's money coming into the bank. That's all means I'm doing it good enough. But anyway, so I'm just curious about that next level, even if that's like 6 or 7 months away from me, probably.
When we look at driving results and like driving the results through others, there's a few different elements. And so like one is getting super clear of clarity of the role. And so if we're looking at, that next level might be that you hire an operations manager, right? Like if you're trying to step and free up more of your time to focus on growing the business and you have someone else that you hire to, like, let's say, for example, like where would you go spend your time? Like, why would you not just manage this team? Like, what are you going to do to elevate the time that you are spending?
Ideally, what I would like to do, more or less, I would love to just build a community of wholesalers, focus on my content, right? Kind of like
deal flow
really,
from that.
What would be insanely ideal is I'm in the one market right now. It would be super cool if when I get to the 200 to 250 grand in revenue, I think that's enough where I could then hire somebody who, I don't know if this is 2 different people, I don't know if this is one different person, but one person who makes sure that market keeps making money. Someone who can handle HR, somebody who can handle sales. And I truly don't know how many different people this is or if this is one person, right? But someone who can keep that ship running. And then also ideally would be hire another person to open up a new market, right? Which would be like a new venture that I kind of do with them and I advise them, but it's like their job to hire the VAs to find buyers, all that stuff. This would be the ideal life. And then I just make a ridiculous amount of content, go to masterminds, speak on stage.
You're doing higher leverage stuff. So essentially like building the team so you could focus on the higher dollar revenue generating things, which is when you're making content, that's like a one-to-many activity that there's a lot of people that could be learning from that and could get you a lot more opportunities. This role that you're talking about is really someone that's like is an ops manager, depending on which market you're hiring them. But like this is like a 75 to 85K a year type salary, and then you could bonus them based off of performance of the management of the organization, where they can make maybe upwards of 95 to 100, and they're running majority of your day to day, freeing you up to be able to spend more of your time on things that are going to generate more revenue than just managing people. And where it's going to be helpful for you in the time that you're spending building out your teams now, you have clarity of role with every role in your organization, and you have clarity of all of the KPIs that each role has to be accountable for. And then you have like that clear definition of what does success look like for each role. And you have that for every role, and then you're doing it. You're going to be able to a lot easier transfer that to someone else that obviously you want to make sure that they have leadership skills, right? Like you don't want to hire someone in totally green for this role that you're hiring for here. This is someone that you hire a specialist, not a generalist. Someone that's a specialist and they've managed teams before. They've likely been in the real estate industry before, so like you're not having to teach them what escrow is. You're not having to teach them what, earnest money is. Like you probably want someone that has that type of experience and that has a track record of being able to lead others within previous roles. And then you're plugging them into a system that's already super clear so that they can help drive those results. Ryan Buchanan, he's a partner in a cleaning company that we invested in. And so I'm coaching him on this right now, where he's working on getting one of our corporate locations to be able to be ran fully by a general manager. And so that he can go work on helping other franchisees launch their locations. And so this is the exact same thing. So like regardless of business, for everyone on here, it's like you can take these same concepts to your business. So we're making sure every role has the clear job description. Every role has clear KPIs of what success looks like. And there's like a clear description of what that is. And then what I'm having Ryan do in this case is he is teaching those leadership skills to the general manager. And so what he's doing right now is he's doing one-on-ones, and then he's started rolling out for her to do one-on-ones with her team, with her direct reports, and he's shadowing and then coaching and giving feedback to make sure that, he's doing it the right way. Giving them the playbook of like, hey, RC, here is every role that you're managing, their role, their KPIs, what success looks like for the roles. The more you can set them up to know exactly what winning looks like in the position that they're taking on, and then you're just coaching them to that, the better you're going to set them up for success. And so that's actively what we're doing for like that specific business right now. If you're trying to ascend someone into like a higher level role, sometimes it could be hard to like quantify like, okay, like what more do they need to do? Like, how do I just like make sure that they're good enough to do it? So sometimes it's better to reverse engineer of like, what would this person look like if I had that person? If I had that ops manager, what skills would they have? From a leadership standpoint, from a technical standpoint, whatever other operational things that you need them to do. I'll just read you guys a few of the things that I worked on with Ryan on this, because I was like, okay, so you want to have RC become the general manager. What would have to be true? And he's like, oh my gosh, there's so many areas that she has to get better in. And I'm like, okay, well, perfect. So exercise, we're going to identify what would a phenomenal general manager look like that ran the corporate location. And so here are some of the things that I had him do. The first thing I had him do was list out all of the things that he could come up with that would make an amazing general manager. And what I had him do was rate the current level of her skills right now. So basically I'll give you a couple examples. So one of the things he put down was like under leadership. And so I had him rate her on a scale of 1 to 10. And so I'm like, okay, so Ryan, you're going to list these things out on a scale of 1 to 10. What would you rate her? And if it's not a 10, I need you to write out what would have to be true for her to be at a 10. What skills is she lacking? Is it something technically in leadership? Is it she needs training on conflict management? Is it she needs training on how to delegate better? Like, what is it that, what needs to be there for you to be like, yeah, she's a 10 out of 10 in leadership? Another area for this role in particular is like financial management. And does she know how to look at a P&L and understand if it's not looking good, what to do to fix it? Like, what does she need to do? And she was, in this one, she was rated really low, but she probably has never had someone teach her to look at a P&L and understand what's not working when they're looking at it. That becomes an area that he's going to focus on coaching her up on. So it's like, hey, so like, what does that look like in real life? So, and the rating of P&L not having a strong competency there. Okay, so Ryan, the next 2 months, what you're going to do is whenever you're reviewing the P&L, you're going to talk through that with her. Then the next time you do it, you're going to then have her review it. and have her tell you what she's seeing from the P&L and from things that she learned. Anything that maybe she didn't notice, then you're going to call those things out and say, hey, X, Y, and Z, you had missed. Great job on these couple areas, but these are a couple things that if they get left and unchecked, like that could be, really expensive for the business, right? So it's like you're identifying what the key traits and the key things that you want for that role to be super successful. And then you're rating either the person that you have, or if you don't have the person, then you're just, listing those things out. So then when you do find that person that you want to plug into that, or if you're trying to coach someone up to be able to do it, you have a clear picture. Because oftentimes when people are trying to ascend team members, they go too much off of gut. You guys know me by now, data over drama. Like, what's the data? What are the things we could look at and then make a decision from that data? And like, yes, some of this when you're like rating leadership stuff is a little bit, harder to rate, but like you have to go with some of your gut on that too, to just see like what you could do to help support them in this area. But this is actively what we're doing to coach someone up.
How do you give KPIs to an ops manager? That's also another question, because it's not like number of calls. It's like fix the system when it breaks. Is that a KPI in that case? Like, I don't know.
Operational roles are a little bit harder to come up with KPIs, but there could be certain elements. And then I'm going to jump to Chris's question in a second here. But for Scale with Pros, on like the way that we fulfill a KPI, Adriana is obviously out on maternity leave, but like one of the things for her is our net promoter score with the clients that we're serving. Why is that an ops thing? Well, the fulfillment is everything after the sale happens. And so the net promoter score that we're going to judge is going to be tied to her. So it's like the happiness level and the success level that our clients have, get her that rating. So like if you have that CRM business, it's like when you do a review or surveys of customers, are all the customers happy, or you have a bunch of pissed off customers? And it's like, well, that's an ops thing. Someone should fix that. So
yeah, I get it.
There's, reviews is a thing, like keeping like good reviews for the business. Chris.
Hey, Cody, thanks for letting me come on here today. So got brought an operator, and she came from a mortgage background, had, 15 years of experience, and she helped a guy scale a business from the ground up to 14 different branches, 3 states, and she was in charge of everything, hire, fire, compliance, all that jazz. I had to pretty much cover her salary to get her out of her W-2. Of course, I've never hired an employee before. And so when I brought her on, it was something that was completely foreign to me. And it was like 6 figures right out of the gate. That's rough. It was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress because she was a major breadwinner. And then you have that overhead. Now I know why they call it overhead, because it just like hangs on you like that.
It just hangs over here. And
right.
Like...
So it's pressure, right? But at the same time, I had so much going on that I had to bring her in to help me mitigate and fix. I feel like at the end of the day, I mean, she was helping me build out a full process, get SOPs together, doing stuff here and there. I had her doing too many tasks that were low value tasks. You know what I mean? That I shouldn't have been doing, she shouldn't have been doing, and I should have had somebody else doing. And so I'm paying her bank, to do these simplistic VA, related tasks, if you will.
Yeah.
Which is basically a lot of business mitigation, I guess, or just management. Anyhow, I need to figure out how to do it right the next time, because she did pivot on me at the beginning of the fall or into the summer. She had a great opportunity come up, and I don't blame her for that. But at the same time, I'm sure there was a little bit of pressure from all the shitstorm that was going on. There was like, this is a great out, I wouldn't blame her anyway. Moving forward, I'm trying to figure out how to go about it the best way, because right now I'm interviewing like VA teams. I'm interviewing one in Cairo, one in Philippines, where they basically have an operations manager over their team, data entry, social media management, whatever, you just name it, for whatever you need at that time. The thing is if I have somebody in operations, how do you manage, or how do you bring in somebody that's more of a fractional type operator, if you will, where you don't have that base salary hanging over your head? So that way, at least I can bring her in for the task that I need an operator to actually do, not the other BS that I'm taking care of. Like, the biggest pain point I think I have in my business right now is we close escrow. I nurture that deal all the way through to exit. So I'm providing support in the communication realm and getting the updates to them. I make it very clear, listen, guys, this isn't responsibility on me. I am doing this for you as a service. So I hire a post-close coordinator, and they manage all this stuff. I put them in a separate channel so that everybody can communicate, all that stuff. I provide that. I don't have to, but I'm trying to, do that customer service.
You're try to create a raving fan experience.
If you can, right? But there's so much of that. It sucks my day dry. Because I mean, when I'm dealing with like 220 investors at any given time, you know, and I'm still trying to exit 26 deals, you know what I mean, 26 projects. It's a lot, and I don't get to move forward. So right now, I had a platform that I was utilizing, and it's called Lending Wise, and I had to dump them. I had them for about 10 months, and they just were never delivering what they said they would. Now I'm trying to get the operations thing set. Now I'm trying to get a platform that I can manage my deal flow and have a marketplace, if you will, to be able to shop the deals. But I'm just trying to piece everything together. But while I'm trying to do that, and I'm still mitigating all this back end BS, babysitting, if you will, then I'm having a hard time moving forward, you know, growing. So I've actually stopped my deal flow. I mean, I only have a few deals that I'm working on right now on purpose, because if I bring in the leads,
you bring on more, it's going to just blow up essentially.
Yeah. Because I mean, I was before doing 4 to 6 deals a week by myself, and I was about killing myself, you know. So I don't want to be there again because it sucks. So I'm just trying to figure out how to manage and how to maintain. But it's like, who do I bring on? What does that person look like?
So let me ask you, I'm gonna ask just a few clarifying questions, and some of this helps me understand like what like budget could be for team and like, you know, so from like revenue standpoint, what's the business looking like? And then what's your team look like if you do have anyone on the team right now?
Oh, I'm suffering right now because I've had to spend so much time not bringing in active income. You know what I mean? That's my problem right now because I'm trying to take care of these people, you know, and that's my.
The reason I'm asking on the revenue side is like I'm trying to understand like, you know, can you even hire someone, and is it a good financial choice to do that? Or if it's like no, based off of where the revenue's at, like on an annual basis, like what is the business doing to then, because I don't want to make a recommendation based off of like, yeah, this is what you should do. And you're like, dude, like I don't have the revenue to support that right now.
Right, right. And then of course I've got my own money out there floating in the wind, you know, from bad TCs and stuff like that. So I'm still trying to recover a bunch of money. But if I keep the flow coming in as it is, you know, I would have money to dedicate to that. Not a ton. I mean, in the last 12 months, I mean, I think I grossed around, I don't know, 340 or something like that, you know. So so it wasn't a shit ton, but I mean, but I've only been doing this type of thing for a year and a half now. You know what I mean?
So my first thing, and sorry to, you know, against their whatever they thought was the idea. At that revenue range, I wouldn't have recommended you hire a 6-figure salary employee.
Oh, I jumped the gun for sure. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just like, I need help, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the thing I always tell people is like, there's always going to be one constraint in the business. And like, we're obvious in the constraint for you is like, you could go get more business, you're turning down business, and it's this fulfillment piece that is where it's getting into a mess. Am I understanding that all correctly? When it comes to that, obviously, you know, you can get support from somebody in operations. Like I look at that as more of like like if you were to hire someone full time for that, I look at that as more of like an operations coordinator role, right? Like ops coordinator is more of like a 60 to 70K salary, not a 6-figure salary. I'm assuming the lady that you had helped get some processes in place that now someone else could like run the ball forward with those, or is that still not quite there yet?
Yeah, with the processes, but unfortunately, those processes were, you know, derived towards utilizing that platform lending wise. Not a big deal, right? You can kind of find and replace some of the tasks, I guess, and plug them into whatever that new system is.
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest fail points too was when she pivoted on me, that was one point of failure. She was trained on that platform. She was trained in all this stuff. I depended on her for all that stuff. And now she leaves, and it was just like a dump truck. It was like, you know, and here you go. This is all on you, you know, and that sucks because now I don't have time to learn this platform because I'm trying to mitigate all the, you know, stuff I just got dumped on me. And it was a death sentence, you know?
Yeah.
So I got to figure out how to avoid that one point of failure as well.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have our team members do, so like any of our like critical leadership team members that we have, so like our CFO, my head of operations, the things that they're doing in their role that are critical to the business is documenting the things that they're doing so that in the case of like, God forbid anything happens, they quit, they get sick, they pass away, like one of the 100 things that could happen, we have as part of their job is they need to document how they're doing things. Just like from like the leadership standpoint, Chris, is when you're bringing in anyone, I would have them as part of their job it's like, yes, you have to do the job, but also part of your job is documenting the certain roles that you are doing in the job. And the way that I always teach people that as well is like, okay, the goal is for the company to grow. So if the company is to grow, and let's say you hired an ops coordinator to help do this, my goal for you, you know, Mr. or Mrs. or Miss Ops Coordinator is you to be so good at what you're doing that you, Chris, as the rainmaker, can go and just get more loans, more deals, and be growing the revenue of the business. And you are running the back end so efficiently and documenting how we're doing things that eventually I'm probably going to have to hire you a VA assistant to help do some of the lower level tasks while keeping that same salary there. And then as we continue to grow even more, that they ascend into maybe an ops manager where they go from that 65, 70 to 85. And then they have their VA team member helping them do some of the lower level tasks. Maybe they get a second one at some point as well. Maybe you hire an in-house TC at some point, as the volume grows and grows. But you have the people that are doing those roles, creating the SOPs of what they're doing. Obviously, I know with the LendingWise thing, like that's just what it is, but that's one of the things. But you can, for what you need, you can absolutely be spending significantly less. At your revenue size, like a generalist is going to be good enough. Like as long as they have experience like in the industry that you're in, somebody that has general operation experience is going to be good enough to do what you need them to do, because they're not coming in and having to like lead cross-functional departments of like a marketing team, sales, and connecting them with tech team and legal. You know what I mean? It's like they don't
Right.
need that level of complexity.
Yeah, we had and that's funny how you're describing like that, because I had her, but then we hired a VA, who was basically assisting her in a lot of stuff. So she was kind of a multifaceted VA. She was
Mm-hmm.
getting a lot of stuff done and doing a little bit of post close as well, coordination. And then we had two dedicated TCs, that were
Mm-hmm.
basically proprietary to our SOP, if you will.
Yep.
But then if we needed a third and fourth, they were available when we got busy. We're formulating a team, but like you say, at the same time, right? If I'm dumping so much cash on her salary, you know what I mean? That was rough, because I mean, when you're talking damn near, $9,000 a month, it's like, I think now I'm sitting there going, man, I could have had a hell of a lot of VAs for that price,
I'll tell you this, we didn't have one role in our company unless there was sales, because sales were, but one operational role that was making over 100 grand a year until we were doing over 10 million a year.
Gosh, I think that was premature then. God dang. That's rough, man. That's a hard lesson learned, right? Because again, you don't know what you don't know, right? Somebody was telling me to find somebody that is willing to come in on a vesting schedule.
Okay,
Your
so
thoughts about
give
that?
me a little bit more info. Vesting schedule for
Basically, like somebody operations wise.
like to give them equity? Is that?
I guess it more of a what is that? Isn't it more incentivizing as we grow, they grow as
Profit
well?
sharing. It's
Okay.
usually profit sharing. It's usually like if you hit these targets, you'll get 1% of the profit or 2% of the profit. That's usually what a vesting schedule is.
So what we call it at our company is total rewards, like our total rewards plan. And I'll give you the tiers of how we do that. So these are the tiers that we have here. The first level of compensation that we do is some sort of base pay. And that could be, they could be 1099, they could be W-2, depending on where the stage of the business is. Second stage of total rewards, next level of reward compensation that we look at are benefits. Benefits could be things like PTO. Benefits could be like health insurance. That could be like dental. That could be vision. That could be, and you give them life insurance. That could be work from home, like if they usually work in office. Like, so it's like the first level of rewards is you get paid a base. Second level of rewards is some sort of benefit plan. Next level of rewards is a bonus plan. And bonus plans could be done so many different ways, but like say someone is getting paid like 100,000 a year, and then you give them an option or an ability to earn a 10% bonus. So they would be able to earn $10,000, and you do it each quarter. So like each quarter they have an ability to get a $2,500 bonus, for example, right? That could be tied to some sort of result that they have to do and the business does, right? The next level is profit share. No equity, profit share. I like, if you're going to incentivize on profit share, I like doing that more so monthly rather than like quarterly, because the individual can directly see how success that last month affected their paycheck the next, so like the month of January closes on the February 15th, they're going to get their profit share check from January. And so that obviously can range based on the role and what they're doing. So that's like the next level of rewards that someone could eventually get to. And then the final level of a reward plan would be equity, which is where you're going into the vesting, which is you could do phantom equity where they don't get any profits from the equity they get. Like, let's say it's you want to give someone 10% over 4 years. And I'm just making this up, like just giving
Right.
examples. But phantom equity, where they get every year that they're with you, they earn 2.5% equity in the business. And at the fourth year, they're fully vested. And so at the fourth year, if you sold the business for example, whatever it sells for, they're going to get 10%. They're not getting anything from that while, just working in the business. They're not getting like that doesn't tie them to having to give them 10% profit share during. It's just they have equity if it sells. And then the other form of it could just be straight equity where they literally get that equity during the schedule. So that could be, you could do the same thing over 4 years, but every year they get 2.5%. They're also getting 2.5% of the profits of the business. If it does sell at any point in time, whatever they've vested at that point, they would get that in that plan. So when I look at total rewards, roles start with they get a base pay, then we add benefits, then we create a bonus plan, then they could eventually earn profit share, and last would be equity. A lot of times people go like straight to equity, but it's like base and then work your way through these areas is the way that I like to do it. And there's just levels of, rewards essentially that they could earn.
So let me ask you about the profit share portion of it, because I'm with you here. When he was telling me about that vesting, and he was telling me, he's like, yeah, you can bring them in, they'll just work, and you're just giving up equity. You're not having to pay them out of your pocket, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, what does that turn into? How much are you giving up at the end of the day? But I love the bonus idea. Well, as far as doing that, right? Because I don't care if they make a shit ton of money, because that means I'm doing well. So what are your thoughts about having a team of VAs like that underneath an operations manager? Because what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to have a one-stop shop if I can. You know what I mean? Rather than a VA out of this company that specializes in this, a VA out of this company that you know what I'm saying?
From what it sounds like, and at this revenue size that your company's at, an ops manager should be able to just do most everything you're doing with probably maybe one VA helping with just some administrative stuff. I don't know why you'd need all those people or that whole team to do everything that you're needing to do.
I guess what I'm trying to do right now too is I'm trying to develop something proprietary as far as a platform, because I think the biggest thing that already freaked me out, right, is when I had to dump LendingWise. I'm like, well, as soon as that subscription stopped, there goes my system.
You don't need a whole team or a full-time person that does all of that. Where you're at, what I would say is like you get someone that could do the initial build to this minimum viable done version for what you're doing in high level, and then you just get a developer that can then just work on an ad hoc basis where you pay them as you need. So then it's really an ops manager and then maybe a VA that helps do some of the minutia of things that they just need. So you can buy back like 10, 15 hours of their week to just spend on a little bit higher level problem solving. And then the VA is helping move along administrative stuff for that ops manager. You can absolutely find someone that's at that probably 60 to 70K range to do what you're saying you need them to do, and then have a VA help them. And you don't need to go spend a bunch of money on that. Like my head of operations that, runs things for our portfolio of businesses, like she's a 6-figure salary, but like she needs to be because she manages like leaders in multiple companies going and breaking processes up and rebuilding them out. And like just it's way more complex, but you can get someone that's very talented for that price range.
No, I appreciate that, man. This whole building a business thing is so new, because I mean, all I ever did, I was a high school teacher for 18 years. And so it's
exciting. I wouldn't go buy another business until you get this sorted, because this is what happens. People, they have something working, then they go put time somewhere else, and then the first thing starts falling backwards, and then you're like trying to go fix keeping the revenue there, and then you're like kind of start juggling back and forth.
And that's the biggest reason I scaled back until I have my infrastructure in place. You know what I mean? Yes. So I don't get swamped again.
Yep. That's the thing we always talk about here. It's like get a self-managing company where it's like, okay, you can go spend some time and things don't just fall apart when you go focus on something else.